Hi guys, and welcome back to Manch Talk. I'm Carla Garrick, and today is the first week of March. So thank you for joining me again. Today we will be talking about a few things. First of all, we will touch on Trump's speech from last night. I will tell you about some of the bills that are coming up this week as per the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance. I want to talk a little bit about what D.O.G.E has been up to. If we find some time, we are going to delve into the term self-determination, and we will talk about what's coming up this week in New Hampshire. But first of all, I wanted to let everyone know that sadly, my mother passed away last Thursday. And I was wondering as I was driving here if I would say something or not. And then I thought, I think we make a mistake in life when we try to compartmentalize things. And the reality is death in a family is hard. It's something that needs to be acknowledged. And so I'm just sharing with you guys that happened in my life. And I know that there are painful things that happen to other people. So I just wanted to let you guys know, chin up, folks, chin up. I also wanted to talk about the notion of compartmentalization more specifically with the following lens. We have somehow trained ourselves in life to accept the following sentence, which is, it's not personal, it's just business. And I've been wondering about that a lot, because here's the question. If we are telling ourselves as humans that there are different rules according to what exactly as to how you're going to behave, then to me that seems like we are creating what could actually be called almost split personalities, right? Because you're expected to, oh, I'm wearing this hat over here, and then I'm wearing this hat over here. But all those different hats allow you to operate in a non-holistic way. And I think that non-holisticness is actually part of our societal problem. The other note I wanted to start with today is, let's give diplomacy a chance. You know, I was kind of gobsmacked last week with that meeting between Trump and J.D. Vance, the vice president, and Zelensky, the dictator of the Ukraine. And it occurred to me, because my background is from a diplomatic household, that maybe we have steered so far with this binary structure in life away from the acknowledgement that we get things wrong. Sometimes someone wrongs you and you just actually have to accept it. And in a case like war, at some stage, unless you are going to underwrite perpetual war, which do not recommend, then we need to come up with solutions. And so I'm going to ask all of you today, if you're watching this, can you just take a moment and ask yourself why you would be against peace talks and against people actually trying to get to peace? And I'm talking specifically, I think, to my Democratic brethren, because you guys used to be the anti-war folks. And what happened? And I think what happened is you're being propagandized to such a level that you can't think straight. And so instead of kind of going, hey, what's everyone telling me, or what's the newspaper saying, or anything, just ask yourself in your heart whether you think we should be pursuing peace, regardless of who's in the wrong. At some stage, it doesn't matter. It's just an issue of, can we fix this wrong? So I also want to tell everyone about this book. This is by the great Scott Horton. He is a brilliant man. He writes for the Libertarian Institute now, but I believe he wrote for antiwar.com for many, many years. He will be speaking actually at PorcFest and possibly at Liberty Forum as well this year. But this is a great book. And you know what? If you guys want homework for today, I would say everyone go read a a peace poem, go read an anti-war essay, go remind yourself that as a humanity, we have to be able to do better. And you cannot, for the love of God, be like, oh, we should have more war because Orange Man is bad. That is actually bad. All right, let's talk about Orange Man Bad's speech last night. I'm going to have to put my glasses on for that one. So hopefully everyone caught Trump's speech to Congress last night. But in case you didn't, here is a little rundown. So first of all, 100 minutes. I mean, the guy can talk, right? So, he gave an energetic address focused on his re-election victory and some of his policy priorities. So he kind of laid out, and I actually saw a really good video, and I want to say it was from The View, actually, sometime last week. They had a guest on, a black gentleman, I didn't catch his name, and he actually started with the statement, I'm no Trump supporter, but, right? But then he basically said the following, right? Because a lot of people are now saying, well, Trump doesn't have a mandate. And I'm like, look, you can be upset that your guy didn't win, or your lady didn't win, or your flavor of ice cream didn't win. But the reality is Trump did win all 7 swing states. So that means something, right? Like that, he actually won 312 electoral votes, and he achieved a popular vote victory. So this is a mandate. He also, I don't know if folks know this, but he is vastly more popular amongst young people and young people of color, blacks, Hispanics, than any president has been for an incredibly long time. And this guy who was talking on The View, that actually surprised me, but he had the stats to point it out. I think where Trump is doing really well is talking about things like America is back, right? Wouldn't it be nice to actually be liked again, to actually be out there in the world doing some good, or maybe even just doing good in our own backyards? And then he has been talking about the rise of the golden age. Now, if you're a gold bug, all of that sounds pretty good. So some of the policy highlights he talked about is obviously D.O.G.E. What is that? That is the Department of Government Efficiency. For those of you who have been mind controlled to be like, Elon Musk is not allowed to be doing this stuff. I hate to break it to you. Do I? No, I don't. But I wanted to point out that D.O.G.E. is departmental structure, because there are a lot of talking heads on X in particular. And when I say talking heads, little side quest conversation here, I don't know if you guys saw the clip, but there was a clip that came out that was literally a verbatim script that was read by Warren, Pelosi, Schumer, like all those guys, right? Where, when they put those videos together where they're like, they used to do it to show you how propaganda works in the news, but now you can see it directly just as a party apparatus. So there's a little clip that was put together where it's numerous, high-level Democrats literally saying the same thing. Now, I don't know about you, but that seems creepy, right? Because that's also not independent thought. That is, who gave them that script? Who gave them that script? I think that is a legitimate question. So somewhere in all of that, people have been saying that, oh, Musk isn't authorized to be doing all of this work. So bad news for you guys. They actually did a really clever thing. So what they did do is they actually repurposed an old department called the United States Digital Service, USDS. So and then they renamed it the United States D.O.G.E. Service, USDS. What was this previous entity? It was actually an entity created by executive order, you're not going to like this, by Obama to do little techie things, right? So basically what they did is Trump wrote an executive order, repurposed this one department, and gave it a new sort of authority, and and said, hey guys, let's go find the fraud and waste. And I mean, I don't know how to break the news to you, but honestly, on the Democratic side, it's kind of like this is a really bad look for these leaders to be like, they look like they're championing fraud and waste. And it's hard not to look at that and be like, that doesn't seem like you guys are in it for Americans, for your constituents. It seems like you've been dysregulated to such a level that you actually cannot think straight. So it's a bad look. Bad luck, guys. Let's see, what else? So using that USDC as a pivot was actually very clever because it stops that sort of criticism that you're hearing. So when you hear it, understand, no, it is not true what they're telling you. There is existing authority. It was a tech kind of play to start with, so there's no reason to be like, oh, what now? Some tech people are looking at tech stuff. The vehicle they chose, it will give them speed and flexibility to basically hit the ground running, which we saw is what has happened with Doge, right? Doing it this way also creates more cost efficiencies, and actually there's precedent for it. Not only did Obama create his one that was then repurposed, but someone like Reagan had the Grace Commission, and Clinton reinvented some stuff too. So it's not illegal because there is statutory basis for it. It is acting with transparency, which everyone who knows my jam, that is really important, because why does transparency matter? It matters because if you don't know what they're doing, you certainly can't hold them accountable. And as we're seeing with this discovery of the waste and fraud that Doge is uncovering, it's large, it's nasty, it's corrupt, it's probably slightly immoral, and I'm hopeful that we can actually fix some of these problems and reform where we need to. So how much money have they already found that has been wasted? $55 billion. That's a lot of bennies, guys. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of veterans we could probably help. That's a lot of homeless people we could be helping. That's maybe a lot of like drug programs. You know, let's give it a chance, and instead of being hypercritical, maybe we should go, hey, we're on board, let's clean up the mess. All right, so let's see here. What's coming up at the gold standard? So the one I want to yell about, and I was like shocked and horrified because look how big the gold standard is this month or this week, right? There is a lot of bills here. So I'm definitely not going to cover all of them, but I would be remiss if I don't mention the following bill. And if everyone could sign in on this, if you're watching this live on Facebook, you still have a chance. I'm going to blank. I mean, I want to say it's 456. But it is the vehicle inspection bill. What would this bill do? It would get rid of the legal requirement that is basically a mandate that forces you to have your car inspected, which then often leads to a lot of costs. This is a good bill for all Granite Staters. So not one group is being benefited over another. Everyone equally gets the benefit. So that's the kind of bills we like, right? Instead of special interest, it's like, if this bill benefits everyone, then maybe all of us can get behind it, right? So it would do away with the inspection stickers or the inspection requirement, which is actually a tax on poor people. And I don't say that lightly, but I know people who cannot afford to do that every 2 years. And certainly if you buy a new car, you will get a heart attack when you register your car in New Hampshire. So I think that's a great one for us all to kind of get behind. All right, let's see what else do we have on the list here. So they're trying to bring in a lot of like creepy sort of surveillance stuff. I saw one bill here. I mean, sadly, I can tell you just looking at this, it goes anti-liberty, pro-liberty, anti-liberty, 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 pro-liberty. So, we got our work cut out for us, but I did see, and possibly you guys did as well, in today's paper, March 5th, 2025, that the Universal EFA bill clears House committee. So basically what that would mean is EFAs are our education freedom accounts. There is currently an income cap, so if you make X amount of money, then you're not allowed to use this program. So it is actually, it punishes wealthier people for some obscure reason. I mean, either we live in a free nation where we're all treated equally, or we live in some kind of communism where we think rich people need to pay more than poor people. That doesn't actually make sense, because over the long term, what happens is they just start to change the definition of who's rich until we're all in the pot with the hot boiling water and it's too late to notice you have been cooked. So what will happen with the EFAs is they're going to take away the income requirement, meaning that anyone can equally apply for the bill. This would become, so basically the current cap is 350% of the poverty level, and they'll take that away. So it raises the eligibility income level from $109,000 per annum to $128,000. So let's say 130. So from 110 to 130. So really, in the bigger scheme of things, it's also not making that much of a bigger change. All right, let's take a look at a little bit about, well, so I have been doing this little experiment on X for the past 63 days. I'm attempting to do 365 X lives called My Living Experiment. And so far I haven't missed a day, not even when my mom died, although I did get on there and cry harder than I did at the start of this show. Sorry, that's a hysterical response. But one of the things I'm doing is on Sundays as sort of series for this MLX on X. And if you're not following me on X, please do. You can find me at Carla Garrick. And also you can find all my content at carlagarrick.com. There's a lot of great stuff on my website. Everyone should be poking around there, even just to see what is up with the AI, because I'm doing a lot of work with the artificial intelligence, mostly Grok, because that one really did level up fast. So it's the one that you get with premium on X, but also ChatGPT, where I find the Dolly, the art one is pretty good on there. Except, honestly, like when you give it direct instructions, like things like, do not change anything else in this picture but this one thing, and then it just gives you an entirely new picture. So I don't know if that bodes well for our robot overlords or bodes extremely badly. But my Sunday sessions, I'm doing a series around self words. I'm going to call it the series of self. And the plan is at the end of the year to then bring out a book of essays that relate to these topics. So the one I did on Sunday had to do with self-determination. And if I can find my notes, which is probably the upside down pages, let's delve into that a little bit just to kind of talk about it, because I think where we've lost like a little control in our lives. I mean, and I see so much dysregulation in people's lives, in the way they behave in real life now, the way they behave online. For the longest time, I thought, oh, this is just kind of jerks on the internet, but those jerks on the internet are now like stepping into the real world. And so I want to remind people as humans, the only thing you can control is yourself, but then also to remind you that there are all these tools and all these things that we can be doing as individuals to actually make ourselves better. And so, whether it's you're building your self-esteem or building your self-control or figuring out your self-confidence, right? Like those are all positive ones. There are ones on the negative side as well. But self-determination ultimately is actually about agency. So what is that? That means that you are basically the boss of you, right? And you should write yourself into your own story. First of all, as if you're the hero in your own story, because here's the reality, folks. If you're not the hero in your own story, what are you doing with your life, right? And it doesn't have to be a big life. There are beautiful books that are about people who whittle, like wood, right? Or, so it doesn't have to be like, oh, you have to be, Katniss Everdeen, although that's kind of my story in my head, right? But you have to put yourself at the center of your life so that you can navigate through life with that sense of agency that allows you to do things like sit in the chair when the guy is pulling your teeth out and be like, no, you're not sticking that metal rod in my mouth. That is agency. That's like going, okay, I'm pretty sure this is going to upset everyone, right, in that situation. But you just decide, well, I'm going to knuckle down and stick to my determination. All right, so what are aspects of self-determination? They are things like autonomy, right? So that means making decisions based on your own values and not on external coercion, right? Not doing it because you're a people pleaser or you're scared you're going to get in trouble or trying to curry favor, right? Making choices based on your own values. Aspects of self-determination also include self-ownership. What does that mean? That means actually understanding that you own yourself. And in like the course's terms, that means as a free human, you are your property. You are your unit. Parts of self-determination are also accountability, resilience, and your mindset and identity. So accountability is what? You guys have heard me say this 100 times. With freedom comes what? Responsibility, right? Like you can't have the one without the other. You can't be like, I'm the boss of me, but also I'm going to be like a, drain on society because I can't control myself. So you have to, and I think this is why many times people are so hesitant to actually embrace this fully, is people don't want that responsibility. But once you start to understand that as a self-determined, self-owned human who can determine things like, how are you fueling your body? How are you nourishing yourself? Are you getting exercise? Are you maintaining the same weight? Are you drinking enough water, right? So how are you operating through the world to be either healthy or unhealthy? And here's the reality. If you're unhealthy, but you're like trying to fix the world, you're going about it wrong. You actually have to start with that self-ownership to be like, I gotta fix my health before I can help anyone. It's a little bit like the masks on the oxygen masks where they tell you to, post-COVID, this is how we know the world has become dumb. So you know how on airplanes they say, put on your mask before you help someone else with their mask? Okay, so that's like how you should improve your health. The post-COVID thing, of course, is like you have to take off your face mask before you put on your oxygen mask. And honestly, when I heard them announce that on the airplane, I was like, oh my God, we live in idiotocracy. Okay, so those are all personal self-determination. But there is also actually statehood or political self-determination. And elements of this actually kind of vibe with your personal self-determination or your individual self-determination. And these are things like decentralization. Now, what do I mean by that? It's actually if you can decentralize down to the smallest unit, again, that's actually your corpus, your self-owned body, body, mind, and soul, and how you're kind of navigating the landscape of your own country. Let's call it a country. If we could all pretend that we're all sovereign little nations running around in the world with our own boundaries, with our own borders, with our own values, with our own constitutions, and that each country has to come to the other one with what? From the start of the show? Diplomacy, meaning what? So a diplomat, my dad taught me, was someone who can tell you to go to hell in such a way that you look forward to it. So what does that actually mean? It means you are able to tell someone to get stuffed without hurting their feelings. That's a good skill to have. But it also means that you are actually coming to the table with the joint notion that we are sovereign humans, right? And so I have to meet you because what else are we going to do? Are we going to have perpetual war in the Ukraine? No, no one actually wants that. Who wants perpetual war? I'll tell you who. The military-industrial complex, the cronies who get rich from it, the people who actually, when you follow the money, are citing both sides of the war and they're making bank. And we, as good people, should be like, time out, enough's enough. We are going to try diplomacy. We're going to try it between countries. We are going to try it between people. We are going to try it until we make it work. Because here's the truth and the reality of life. You have two choices. You can talk about things or you can hurt people to get your way. So it seems obvious to me that we should do a lot more talking. All right. What's coming up in New Hampshire this week and weekend? There are the Poetry Out Loud finals. That will be taking place March 14th at the State House in Concord. There is the Fish Summer Tour that is kicking off. Apparently, this is upcoming events in June. I don't know, maybe I didn't make my specs good enough with the AI. So here are the things the AI warned us about for March. Weather shifts. It is getting warmer. It's also getting weird and icy and muddy and all of that gross stuff. There was a home show, I guess, that just took place. And it seems like everything else that is coming up is not really relevant to this week. So apologies from me. One thing that might be useful for people to know is JetBlue will be adding summer flights from Manchester starting in June, timed to go through JFK. So that could be good because I was trying to book a trip down to see my dad in South Carolina. We're going to do a celebration of life from my mother in May. So I have a little bit of time. But I noticed that Avilo wasn't flying anymore. There used to be a direct flight from Manch to Greenville, South Carolina. So maybe JetBlue will be the answer. All right, guys, thanks for joining me for another rambling and delightful edition of Manch Talk. I will see everyone back here again next week. Thanks for joining me.